Hey everybody, so we're here for another What's on the Shelf, and we're now on part 32. So on this cubby, it's not really cubby because this is at the top of the shelf now, so I just don't have, I've got too many games to fit each in a cubby. But on this shelf, I have Legacy, The Testament of Duke Decressy, the 5 Families expansion. I have Spyfall, Go Nuts for Donuts, Sushi Go Party, Marrying Mr. Darcy, and then Ascension. So the first one I have is Legacy, The Testament of Duke Decressy, the expansion, 5 Families. Now I've played the base game, and the base game is really neat. So what you're doing in that game is you get married, then you have children, and you kind of arrange on who your children are going to marry. So you can promise them to somebody early on, or when they become adult, they can get married then as well. But you have certain goals depending on what you got going on. So maybe there's more prestige for your family if they marry somebody in the science department, or maybe if they're from a certain nationality, and you're trying to marry your children to people that's going to bring the most prestige to your family. And you're building this family tree, kind of marrying your kids and your grandkids off, and collecting points that way. And then there's other things that you can do. You can throw a big party, a ball, and then that'll give you bonus points. You can try to influence whether or not you can control on whether you have a boy or a girl, because maybe you have a friend of the family, a card that you have in your hand that would work really well in your family, but it's a guy, so you need to find yourself a girl in your family to marry them off to. But then because you're manipulating the sex of the baby, that kind of takes some point away as well. It's an interesting game, definitely. A table hog, it takes a lot of space. This also has, on the solo mode, it's kind of the opposite. You start with yourself and you look at your parents and your grandparents, and you go back into your family tree trying to find a wealthy relative. It's a neat theme. This 5 family expansion, I don't know what it adds to the game. I've never really got to play it or look into it, so it just kind of, I guess, adds a little bit of something to this game. So it'll be interesting when I do get it played. Next one I have is Spyfall. So Spyfall is more of a party game, and it's also one that I haven't got to play yet. What's interesting with this one is everybody is given a card, and you're either kind of get a card that tells you where you are and who you are at that location, or you get a card saying that you're the spy. So if you're the spy, you don't know where you are. Now you have the master sheet that kind of shows you all the different places where you can be, but you're not sure which one you are. While everybody else knows where they are, but they're given a role, so you kind of, depending on the role that they have, what might be, like what their personal circumstances are in that area. And then you take turn asking questions. So you can ask, like, okay, so what are you wearing? And then the person could be like, well, I'm wearing suit and tie. And you look at the location, it says you're at the beach, so it's kind of like, I think this person might be the spy. Or maybe they're answering that because their circumstances, they're at a wedding on a beach, or I'm not sure. Like I said, I haven't played this one. It looks interesting. It's one I want to try. So when I do get to try it, I'll let you know how it works out. So that one was Spyfall. I also have Go Nuts for Donuts. Go Nuts for Donuts is a set collecting card game, kind of like Sushi Go. I gotta say, I didn't like it quite as much as I did the Sushi Go one. With this one is you'll have cards underneath each of the numbers, and you're gonna randomly pick a card and kind of show which one you want. If you're the only one who's selected, you get to take that card, otherwise you don't. And you're building your hand trying to collect as much points, and then depending on the combination you create, how much point it's going to be worth in the end. It was cute. It was neat. The artwork is cutesy. It didn't appeal to me quite as much as the Sushi Go Party. So if I was going to play a set collecting game, chances are I'm grabbing Sushi Go Party. So we'll see how long this one stays in the collection. Next one I have is Sushi Go Party. So Sushi Go Party, just like Go Nuts for Donuts, is a set collecting game. And this one is a drafting game. So you have your set of cards and be like, okay, well, I'm going to keep this one. Then you pass the cards over to the person next to you and you get the cards from the next person. So you don't necessarily know which card you're going to get. Be like, oh, okay, well, I am working on building these ones. So you might do, like, some might give you points if you can make pairs. Say, okay, well, I'll keep one and hope that you get a pair, and then maybe that card never comes up. Or maybe because you set it down, the person next to you is looking and is like, oh, I'm not passing you one of those shrimp, knowing that you're collecting the shrimps. Or different things like that. So you kind of go around till all the cards have been drafted, then you score. And you'll do that a few rounds, and then whoever has the most points at the end of the game is the winner. Now you also have desserts that'll come around, and those ones you'll be keeping, but every time you redo the next round, those don't get reshuffled, they stay aside, and they only score the ones at the end of the whole game. It's a neat game. The art definitely is cute with this one as well. It's one that I gift quite a bit because it's quite inexpensive to find, like at Walmart, and everybody, in my opinion, should have Sushi Go Party. Next one I have is Marrying Mr. Darcy. This one is so cute. So it takes place in the story of Pride and Prejudice. And what you're doing is you're collecting cards, trying to increase your, try to make yourself more beautiful, make yourself more funny, or make yourself more witty, and different things like that. And depending on who the character that you have, you'll have certain prospect that will give you more points than others. But those prospect have different things that they look in a woman, right? So Mr. Bingley, for example, needs somebody who's either very nice or very beautiful. So you'll want to try to collect those traits if you want him to propose to you. So you're doing all this, collecting these traits, trying to build your reputation up, I guess, with the gentleman. And then at the end of the round, you'll get proposals. And depending on, and you kind of go with your lowest prospect towards your highest prospect. So you have your lowest prospect, and then you kind of roll a die and see if they propose to you. So first of all, you see if you've collected the qualities that they're looking for. If they do, then you kind of roll and see if they'll propose to you. Now you have to decide whether you'll accept the proposal or if you'll decline the proposal. So if you accept the proposal, that's good, you're engaged, and it's worth so many points. But remember, you're starting with your lowest prospect. So it's like, well, no, I really want Mr. Darcy to propose to me, so I'm going to pass on that one, and then you go to Mr. Bingley, let's say. And then if you've got enough of the traits, then he will potentially propose to you. And then, again, you roll the dice, right? And then maybe he does propose, like, well, no, I really want Mr. Darcy, so you pass on that proposal. Now you go to Mr. Darcy, you roll the dice, and he doesn't propose. So now you're going to be an old maid. And you roll the dice to see what type of, because you could find joy, as an old maid. You could become a famous author and, have a good quality life, or you could be a strain on your family and be miserable your entire life, lowering your score. The theme is hilarious. I also have the Emma expansion for this one, which I haven't played yet, and the Pride and Prejudice and Zombies expansion, which is really interesting because with this one it adds the zombie element to it, and you might get a proposal, but another player might become a zombie and bite your husband or your future husband. Now he becomes a zombie, so you lose your proposal and you do become an old maid after all. So neat, very funny. Definitely, I think having an understanding of the Pride and Prejudice stories kind of adds up to that, because it definitely played up on that. Is like, but it wasn't necessary, right? We played last time I played, it was a bunch of girls and guys, and the guys had no idea about the story, but they still enjoyed the game quite a bit as they're trying to get, proposed to by these gentlemen. Neat game, definitely. I'm glad I got this one in my collection. Next one I have is Ascension, deck building game, and I have a few expansions in that one because you can combine together, making it into more like a larger group of player games. So this one is a deck builder. You have the monsters in the middle that you can attack and cards that you can purchase, and you get your cards, and so as you attack monsters, you gain points for them, and you're kind of playing as a deck builder into that game. It's neat. It's a very cool looking game. I still probably, if I go deck builder, prefer Star Realms myself, but this one is definitely very satisfying, and it's a great game as well. And that was it for the shelf. So if you want to follow me on Facebook, my Facebook group is Didsbury and Area is Playing All the Games. I am also on Instagram as BoardGame_Mama and on YouTube as Board Game Mama. So stay tuned for the next What's on the Shelf. I think I'm almost done this shelf, and we'll be moving on to some of the smaller games because I have so many of those. I love a good small game. So you'll have to stay tuned to see what those are. Bye, everybody.